the tragedy of Romeo and Juliet to me is not that these two were meant to be together, but they were denied the normal process of being teenagers and falling for each other and feeling sexually alive and dating and maybe breaking up and moving on to somebody else, but it's not just about the two of them. It's what young people are denied. It feels like that the ultimate goal for everybody in Romeo and Juliet as children is to grow up into Tybalts and then to grow into a Montague or a Capulet. That's the path. It's a fated path. There is no other society in the play.
Because you think of the teenagers who are coming to Romeo and Juliet, what's the most serious thing in many of their lives? It's you're grounded, you don't get your allowance for the next 4 weeks. And you see this play and everything is ratcheted up, so there's so much at stake in every action of every young character. And the extremity of this play, I think kids, teenagers can really, if they are willing, they can get so much from this play.
You know, that one act of violence passes on to the next act of violence. If you see Romeo's journey through that play, it's quite different than Juliet's. They don't follow the same path. And he goes from an extremely sensitive, questioning youth who, you know, has the hots for a gal named Rosalind, and ends up as a kind of pressure cooker and murders Paris rather violently and unnecessarily, and he doesn't know what to do with his rage. And you can see him actually filling out the fate that has been given to him, despite his desire not to. Because once he kills Tybalt, everything changes. That's probably central to my interest in investigating this play is, first of all, the culture of violence that disallows normalcy, and seeing that in the general populace of the play, but also in each specific character. You look at Tybalt and his incapacity to bend or yield, and his rage, and Mercutio's almost like emotionally and psychically very, very damaged character. I mean, his Queen Mab speech is not a funny speech to me. It may have humor in it, but he doesn't really think too great on the women there. And seeing it in Paris, what an interesting character, you know. He is denied a relationship with Juliet and yet goes to her grave as her husband, as the greatest love of his life, as if he's the lead of the play.
Part of our job is for every person in that audience to somehow have them feel what it matters to see that play. And so you think of the older people who are hearing these beautiful speeches, passion that they might not have felt for 20 years or that they might have illicitly felt, you know, in the office yesterday. And so you end up asking them to wonder about what happens to passion.
Because it really doesn't matter in essence what period you set these plays if there's a level of urgency and immediacy in the relationships and the stakes are that high, because he wrote stakes that were higher than most writers ever wrote. And that's what I think makes him so thrilling. Not just the beautiful poetry. I think his poetry cleaves open things.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people ultimately get excited by.